Welcome to Common Ground here on 100.7 WZLX. My name is Kimberly, and this segment of Common Ground is an interview with a gentleman named Frank Islam, and he is a co-author of a book that's titled Renewing the American Dream, A Citizen's Guide for Restoring Our Competitive Advantage. The authors of this book have substantial experience in leading, managing, and working in the private and public sectors, and they're calling this book a call to arms to bring the citizen's voice and the business person's perspective to the forefront in a national dialogue. The website for this endeavor is renewingtheamericandream.net, and it's my pleasure to welcome Frank Islam to Common Ground. Hello, Frank. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Well, Frank, this is quite the undertaking. Renewing the American dream. You know, I mean, we're all thinking about that, and obviously you and your co-authors have put a lot of time and thought into this. So why don't you give us the overview, and then we'll talk about some of the specifics.
Well, first of all, Kimberly, I want to thank you very much. First of all, I need to define what the American dream is, and then we'll talk a little bit about why did we write this book and give you a little bit of a big picture on the recommendation that we have made in this book. I'm sure that each of us has our own definition of the American dream. For me, the definition is very simple. It is to be opportunity to be the best that you can be recognized and rewarded in accomplishing that. The fundamental elements of the American dream is getting educated, working hard, and that provides decent wages, adequate benefits, puts food on the table, a roof overhead, and allows for retirement with dignity. I mean, to me, that's what the American dream is. Very simple. We wrote this book, Renewing the American Dream, because three of us would like to sustain and grow the American dream. We all live the American dream. We are not politicians. We're not a political leaders, a business leader. We are just the business people who have owned the small businesses, who are interested in making sure that American people grasp the gravity of the current situation, the crisis that we're in. We need an agenda for the 21st century. We need to build and develop America. And we need to create jobs right here in America, and those are the kind of things we talk about it. We need to spur economic growth in America. We need to bring those jobs back from overseas. We need to build and buy U.S. products, but we got to give them incentives to create a job here in America. And we'll talk a little bit about Obama's recovery plan, and he touched upon one of the recommendations that we made in the book. If you look at the situation that we are in, so what's the situation? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bleak, isn't it? We have the highest unemployment rate. We have the highest debt and deficit. The job machine is broken. The business is not hiring. Corporation is too cautious to hire anyone. We spend about $1 trillion in stimulus funds, and it is down the drain. We have highest trade balance. Exports are stagnated. Imports are surging. We got the depressed housing market. So we thought that all the business leaders and politicians will come together after the 9/11 and to work on the shared goals. Shared goal is to create jobs, to build America, to revitalize America, and to renew American dream. And we were disappointed that was not the case. So this convinced all three of us that we should write the book. And it persuaded us that we are in this together. I've said that many times in the book that our social and economic fabric is in tatters. So we have the responsibility to speak out, to make our voices heard, so that we can renew America and American dream. But we must move forward. So that was the intent of writing this book. And I guess I'd like to talk a little about some of the recommendations that we have made, and talk a little bit about where Obama's some of the initiatives are and where we are in terms of the economy.
Okay, very good. Real quickly, let me mention I'm speaking with Frank Islam here on Common Ground at 100.7 WZLX about a book titled Renewing the American Dream, A Citizen's Guide for Restoring Our Competitive Advantage.
So we need to implement policies and programs that create jobs. They regenerate the middle class reignite the manufacturing center, and unleash the potential of small business and entrepreneurs, and advance America's role in the world as a leader. So, I would like to talk about half a dozen recommendations that we have made.
Okay.
Them has not been, as I understand, been recommended by the president. So, first of all, I would like to see that we increase lending to small business. The president has proposed $50 billion. I think that's great. It's sitting in the Senate. I think we got to pass this bill. We need a small business bill. Small business is the job creator. They're the one who drives the economy. 95% of the job is created by small business. This country was built by small business and entrepreneurs. And I know, I'm one of them. I created 2,000 jobs. I built a company from $1 to $300 million. And so I understand the pain and agony the small business go through if they cannot get access to the credit. We need to boost exports and slow down the imports. And we talk a little bit about in our book how to stay competitive in the market, how to boost productivity, and how to reduce the labor costs. Germany has done that. Germany has boosted their export by 50% in the last 3 or 4 years, and President has made a promise and talked about it in the State of Union to boost it in 100%. We are for it, and I think we should go ahead and do that. Right now, as you can see, some of the recovery has taken place because of the export, not because of the import.
Mm-hmm.
Import has been. We need to slow down the import. Import has surged. We need to establish tax and financial incentives for firms to create and bring jobs back to the United States. We need to create tax policies that give incentive to the American manufacturer to establish plants and manufacture products domestically. And I will talk a little bit about that, what President Obama has proposed in this area. We need to provide support for the education research projects, and we need to have a less regulatory requirements. You know, we got to remove the impediments to productivity. We need to take down the unnecessary burdens and barriers that we have for the business to invest in America. All these things that the president has proposed, one thing that's missing in the whole thing, it seems to me this administration or this Congress is saying that if we give a check to the consumer, that will spur economic growth, and they will drive the economic recovery, and they will drive the growth. But the fundamental elements of the whole thing is we're missing that we need to allow the small businesses or large businesses even to invest in America and take more risk. So my point was, if we have a less restraint, less taxes, less constraint on business, so they can create jobs. Federal spending and the federal money cannot create jobs. So let's talk a little bit about what the president has proposed, Kimberly, if I may.
Okay, please.
It is the speech that he made in Cleveland and several other places. To me, the most promising thing he promote the elimination of the corporate tax for 1 year into the new investment, and we have been advocating that, which is a $200 billion tax break for business that invest in plants and equipment. So you can write off 100% of new investment in plants and equipment through 2011, which is about $200 billion over, I believe, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
This will definitely give a short-term boost to the business to spur economic growth and create jobs in America. But my biggest problem is, and biggest flaw in this thing is, why is this temporary for 1 year? Why cannot be made permanent so that we can create jobs and we continue to do so the business knows that they can take off 100% on the new investment they make?
Mm-hmm.
The second thing the president talked about is a 10-year, $100 billion extension for business tax credit for research and development and making that permanent. Unfortunately, I don't think that will create any job because the less than 1% of Americans are employed by research and development facilities. But it's the right thing to do. Number 30, he proposes $50 billion to improve the infrastructure, the roads, rails, and the runways. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But my problem is why we're spending $50 billion from federal funding when federal deficit is so high. Why can't we reuse the money that we had from the last year, the stimulus package, which was close to $50 billion, to fund this infrastructure support. And I believe Senator Bennett just said that yesterday. This is what we should be doing. And the fourth thing he did, which I believe is very, very important, and we talked a little bit about at the beginning of our session, is a $30 billion increase in lending to small business. I think that is so that we can make it easier for the small business to get the credit and to get access to the money, and especially from the community banks. So those are the things that he did. And I think, but the problem with the whole thing is it is not going to jumpstart the economy. It will not have any effect on the unemployment. What I propose to do, and there are a lot of talks right now, is to extend 1 year for 1 year Bush tax cuts. And regardless whether they're middle class or they make more than $250,000. I think that is, to me, is going to create jobs. It brings a stability in the economy and brings a stability to the business, so the businesses know that they don't have to be paying a lot of taxes. And the second thing that I have advocated, and I continue to advocate, and obviously it's going to cost a lot of money, as I understand, is a 1 year payroll tax holiday for this for all businesses, employers and the employees. I think that the payroll tax is a tax on the hiring labor. So if we give employers a year off, and they're going to be more inclined to add workers, or less inclined to lay off workers. So those are some of the ideas that I believe for economic growth and create some jobs, and also will have a less regulatory requirements. And one thing also that this administration, as well as the Congress, has to stop bashing the Wall Street. They need to stop demonizing the businesses. And the business have close to about $2 trillion on their balance sheet. We need to find a way, and we need to give them incentive to invest in America. And I made a point, invest in America. I'm not saying they should take this money and put it somewhere in overseas. That doesn't spur economic growth in America. We also need people in the White House as well as in the cabinet. They understand the business, understand their concerns, and we cannot suppress the business people's gripes and the grievances and the concerns they have. One of the problems that I think the people perceive this administration as not being a pro-business, which is not really true, but that's what they perceive as. Because the federal government cannot create jobs. It's the business that will create jobs. So those are some of my ideas about that.
And excellent ones at that. Thank you very much, Frank. Frank Islam on Common Ground at 100.7 WZLX, discussing Renewing the American Dream, a citizen's guide for restoring our competitive advantage. All right, well, for this half of the interview, I think it's really important to focus on the citizens' participation in this. How does that play out for you, Frank?
Well, citizens play a very important role in America. They all need to work together for shared goals. And that's the only way the American dream will prevail. Otherwise, the American dream will not prevail. We need to get everybody engaged. It should be shared venture between business leaders, the politicians, as well as the community leaders, nonprofit organizations, and everyone else to work towards the shared goals. If we don't, I believe that the decline that we had from 2000 2009 will be permanent, and most Americans do not grasp the gravity of the current situation that we are in. So my desire is to get everybody engaged and involved in this shared venture.
And how do you propose getting us engaged?
Well, you should be writing the Congress people. You should have a community there where you can talk about it. What roles do you want to play? And that will allow you to get engaged. And important thing is also to make sure that you are engaged working with on the bills that we have in the Congress as well. So there's a many way you can get engaged and involved and embrace the citizens' participation in this.
So what are your suggestions for the average American who works many, many, many hours, if they have a job, and they're struggling, to make ends meet, etc.? Do you have any vision of how to engage those people who already have so much time encompassed in kind of surviving? Do you have any insight into that?
My insight, Kimberly, is that if we can get the business leaders and the companies to invest in America. That's the number one thing we have to do. And number two is we need to bring those jobs back that we have lost.
Mm-hmm.
This means that we have to train those people who can provide the knowledge and experience, and then we got to boost productivity. But we got to have the capital investment by the business people in order for us to put the food on the table for all Americans. I mean, that's the bottom line here, is to create jobs for these people so they can have a roof on their head. So as a citizen of this country, it is a responsibility to solve our problem. And you asked a question a minute ago about how do you want the readers to get engaged, which is all the citizens,
mm-hmm.
and how to be engaged. Well, we want them to be engaged because the fact that we wrote this book called Call to Arms, and it is the foundation for serious discourse and dialogue among the issue that matters to them. And if everybody works together and all the citizen voices are heard, I will say that America's best days will be ahead of us, not behind us.
Mm-hmm. I'm in full agreement with that.
But we got to work together. We have a lot of people bashing each other, including the administrations as well as in the Congress, whether they're business leaders or they're community organizers or nonprofit organizations and all the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But we should have one goal. The goal is to build America, to revitalize America, and renew the American dream. And somehow we haven't grasped the gravity of the situation that we are in.
I'm going to disagree that we haven't grasped the gravity of it. I believe people are overwhelmed by the gravity of it and don't know exactly what to do or how to move forward.
Well, that's what the leadership is all about. You know, the Tea Party is a good example. Obviously, they subscribe to the negativity and not the unity, but divisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
But they have ignited the passion among the people, especially among the conservative voters, and they have brought in the forefront here in the midterm elections of the issues they believe in, which is less government, less taxes. Obviously, there's some of the view as extremist, which I do not subscribe to that. So that's the one way to get engaged in America. I do not think their agenda is very much consistent with what America needs. America needs an agenda that we all can work together for a shared goal.
You used a word about bashing each other. I'm in full agreement around that. I see so much focus on our differences and what doesn't work. And if we could just engage in conversation around what does work and what we are capable of.
I totally agree with you, Kimberly, and saying fat cats to the Wall Street and the business people, that does not go very well, and that's the reason the business are so lukewarm investing in America. Mm-hmm. They rather invest in China and get a profit in that part of the world. So obviously there is a problem over here, and I don't think it's just not this administration. The whole government is engaged in this thing, and I'm not really sure what they get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would say that if this administration would have not bailed out the banks or the insurance companies, they brought some financial stability to the economy, we would have been a very difficult situation, an dire situation today right now.
So you think that was a good move?
Oh, that was a good move, but that was not the purpose. Purpose was to get $872 billion stimulus bill. The idea was to stabilize to put a stability in the financial institution and economy and to create jobs. However, that did not work. It did not create a job, and it did not provide the opportunity that the middle class deserve. So that failed.
All right, and then that goes full circle back to what you were saying in the beginning.
Saying in the beginning that we need to invest in America.
Yeah.
And we need to get everybody together to work for shared ventures. And your points are well taken. That we need to find a way that unite us rather than divide us.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's why we're having these conversations. Hopefully we can continue to have more and more of them as we move forward, because I am optimistic that we have the energy and we have the information that we're able to do that.
I will say that you're absolutely right. We have the energy, we have the passion, we have the commitment, but we need to be focused and we need to be committed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are some reasons for economic optimism. As you can see, the saving has went from 2.7% to 5.9% in July. And there's a gradual healing in the credit, in making loans more available for households and businesses. Banks are doing that. The manufacturing sector, the index rose for 56.3 from 50.55, which is very good. In July, the housing market, their annual rate of $546,000, less than half of what it needs to keep up with the population growth, but it's going. There have been a steep rise in trade. Export may set to rise more than import, and that will help the domestic growth. So there are some reasons for the economic optimism.
Excellent.
Okay, Kimberly.
Yep. Thank you so much, Frank. Keep up the good work, and I appreciate your time and your efforts and your passion. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you to Frank Islam, one of the co-authors of a book titled Renewing the American Dream, A Citizen's Guide for Restoring Our Competitive Advantage. The website to follow up on this is, all written out, renewingtheamericandream.net, renewingtheamericandream.net. My name is Kimberly, and if you would like additional information or even perhaps a copy of this interview, have any questions, comments, suggestions, please do send me an email, and my email address is commonground@wzlx.com. Common Ground will continue. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes for part 2 of Common Ground right here on 100.7 WZLX.